Hi, I'm Sean McVeigh, Sean's Outdoor Adventures. In this video, I'm going to go over some common questions that people ask about the Dragon X8 compound bow. That's the Pro package as well as the standard package. So first, let's go over what comes in the Pro package. Okay, so in the box, you have a bow case, a soft bow case, of course your owner's manual. This is an arrow puller. You put that around the arrow to pull it out of the target. It helps to grab the arrow. You have a sight with a sight light on top there. You have a arrow rest, which you'll mount to the bow. I'll show you about that later. A quiver. Again, you'll mount this to the bow, and I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes. Right there, you use that to mount to the bow. Of course, you have the bow itself, the Dragon X8. This is a stand. You actually clip this to the bottom limb to stand the bow up like this. I don't have a whole lot of room on my table here. I'll just try to squeeze it on the edge like this. Okay, so that's when you're practicing archery, you can stand it like that. That is a stabilizer. Here are the arrows, and some people have wondered how many you get. You actually get a dozen arrows. Right here is your mechanical release in that compartment. Here is your sling, and those are your Allen wrenches right there. So those are the accessories that come in the package with the Dragon X8 Pro. All right, now so you can see the difference, I'm going to show you what comes with the Dragon X8, just the standard package. So you have the bow, and I didn't mention this on the other. They both have a peep sight and D-loop installed. And then the accessories come in this box here. So you'll have a sight, an arrow rest, Allen wrenches, a stabilizer, and a wrist sling. Now some people have asked, what is the broken Allen wrench looking piece for? So here is a normal Allen wrench next to the quote broken one in question. So obviously the broken one's above the top one. This one right here would be considered the broken one. It goes into this little screw right here on the cam, and you do that to be able to adjust the draw length module. Now it's kind of quote broken, so it can pass underneath of the yoke, so you can easily tighten and loosen that screw, and it also fits underneath the limb. As you can see, the screw is positioned under that limb. So that special Allen wrench enables you to make that adjustment even though the screw is somewhat buried under the limb. So some people have asked why their sight light doesn't work. So let me go ahead and take the sight light out of the bag here, and I will show you how to properly install and use the sight light. Now, because the batteries are in the light, they ship it with a clear plastic piece in there that prevents the batteries from getting engaged, so that the batteries don't die by the time you get it. See, I just tightened it all the way and it did not turn on. So you loosen it all the way off, and it's in the cap here. You can sometimes tap it out. This one's a little bit stuck, so I'm just going to use a little screwdriver to stick in there and pop it out. Hang on a second. All right, so I just tapped it out. I just used a little screwdriver to loosen it in position and tapped out. That little clear plastic piece is in there and all of the sight lights. I just got to put the battery back in place because that slid out. But then you just screw this back on, and as you'll see now, when I get it all the way tight, boom, the sight light comes on, and then you can just install that in the top of your sight. Now you're going to want to turn it back off or your batteries will die like that. You tighten it, loosen it, tighten it, loosen it, turns it on and off. So that's how the sight light works. And again, you want to keep it turned off. All right, now what I'd like to do is show you how to install the quiver on the Pro package. So here's the quiver, and there's a little black bracket piece that may be attached right here to begin with. You're going to detach that by pulling it off in the one direction and then sliding it out. So as you'll see, the configuration is one hole faces to down and one to the side. Now you'll want to install this with the vertical option facing up. So it's going to go, the quiver is going to go in and then click in the bottom. Now you're already going to have your sight installed for this, and to do that you use your 2 sight screws, screw it into the riser. The riser has 2 screw holes in it. So you screw your sight into the riser like that so that it's directly above your arrow rest. And then you're going to take your bracket piece, and as I said, you want the vertical facing one to face up, and then you're going to line it up with the screws on the outside edge of your sight right there, and you'll put those screws right in through there. It's not a bad idea if you have some blue Loctite to put a little dab of the blue Loctite on the quiver screw, just to dab it on the end, and that'll help hold it in place, because all compound bows have a little vibration, and the blue Loctite helps to hold all the screws in place. Okay, so this is the top, this direction is the top of the bow. This goes down, here's your arrow rest, goes down to the bottom of the bow. So I'm going to install the bracket with this piece facing up. I'll locate the correct Allen wrench from the Allen wrench set and just use that to install the screws. So this one here, just get that kind of started with my fingers a little, and then put the other one in, get that one started a little bit. Now when I am putting these screws in, I like to, I'll get one so it's just not real tight but just starting to get close to that. Then I'll get the other one close, and then I'll just kind of go back and forth as I tighten them, because you want them to tighten evenly. If you tighten one all the way down first, you don't always get a good set, and the screws could vibrate loose if one of them's not all the way in. So there you have that. It's that simple. So, and then when they get a little bit snug, you just stop. So now that the bracket piece is installed, you'll take the top circular piece of the quiver, and holding the quiver this way, you'll slide that down in, and then it pivots right into place like that. And that is how you install the quiver. All right, now I want to show you how to install the arrow rest. As you can see, there are 2 screw holes for the arrow rest. Now some people like to get a second screw and put the arrow rest in place and screw both in. Helps to hold it securely. You don't actually need to. Why is there 2? Well, one's that option. Another is it gives you more range of motion for installing the arrow rest. So it gives you, if you want to install it back farther, having the back screw hole enables you to do that. If you want to install it more forward, having the front screw hole allows you to do that. So you'll take your arrow rest out, and there is a bolt for holding on the arrow rest with a washer. So what you'll do is you'll take the arrow rest and you'll take the arm, and you'll want to line up this slot right here right over top of those holes. Now again, if you wanted to install it back farther, having this back screw hole enables you to do that. You can see the front screw hole out there. Why would someone want to do that? Well, one reason would be if they want to shoot shorter arrows, they would do that. Another is a more advanced style of tuning is torque tuning a bow. And in torque tuning, you have to be able to move the rest forward or backward depending on the tuning and the way you're gripping. Typically for beginners, that's not really a big focus. And having the front screw hole, if I wanted to put the rest all the way up, having that front screw hole just gives me the ability to do that. For me personally, I like to begin with the rest fairly close to the riser itself. You'll want to leave it back just a little bit, so if you have to adjust the rest in and out, the way this riser is cut, there's a little bit of a piece that comes back right there. And you know, when you want to go, if you need to go in with the rest, it would hit that if you're all the way up against the riser. So I would give yourself just enough clearance to be able to move that rest right or left just behind there to get started. So I like to just go with the back hole here, because that gives me more range of motion to move the rest back if I need or want to. So I'll start it with my fingers here, just get it going. And then I'll get my Allen wrench out of the pack here for tightening that in. All right, so now it's just tight enough to hold it, but I can slide it. So I'm going to slide it there. Now, as you can see, it's up too high, so I want to pivot it down a little bit. Let me get my Allen wrench here. I do like the fact that they supply the Allen wrenches you need. Not many bow manufacturers do that. Okay, so I've got the rest installed, and you can just kind of eyeball it. It looks like it needs to come up a little tiny bit, so I'll just loosen it here, slide it up, tighten it back up. So there, the rest is installed. I left myself enough room to make that horizontal adjustment. But that is how I personally would start with the arrow rest installation. Next, I want to talk about, some people have asked, do you need a bow press to work on this bow? The answer is no, you actually don't need a bow press to be able to work on it. If you need to take the strings and cables off, I'll show you how to do that without a bow press. And in fact, so the peep sight is facing the wrong direction. Here's your D-loop. You want that to be facing the other way. So how can I make the peep sight adjustment? Well, a lot of times it's just a matter of adding a little bit of, like, maybe a half a twist or a full twist to the string. So like if you get your bow and the peep sight is facing to the side, you know, you're just going to need a half of a twist either in or out of the string to rotate it. And one way to do that would be you could loosen the limb bolts far enough that you can adjust the way the string is angled. Now, I typically will take a Sharpie and I'll put a marking on my limb bolt and on the limb pocket to line it up, and that helps me see if I've gone a full complete turn with the Allen wrench. The other way is you just carefully pay attention to the direction that the Allen wrench is facing. For this one, it's not perfectly straight down, but a slight angle, so I could make a note of that for as I'm doing my rotations. And one thing I like to do, especially if I'm working on a lot of bows, is I have a little piece of pipe just from, this is actually from a camping thing that broke, and I like to give myself a little more leverage, and so I'll put that on. Especially that's helpful when it's tightening. So there's one full turn on the limb bolt. I'm going to do a second full turn. I like to do 2 turns at a time. Now I'll switch over to the bottom limb, and I'm going to go 2 limb bolt turns at a time until they're out far enough that I can actually remove the string right off of the bow and work on the bow. So that's 2, 1, 2. So, you know, when you're doing this, you're doing it basically in 2 turn increments on each side. So 1, 2. Now I'm kind of back to, you know, ground zero, let's say. I could take this off and go 2 on the other side, but let's just say I go 2, 1, 2. It's kind of almost the equivalent, you know. So now, 1, 2, rather than flip it, I'm just going to keep it on that side and do 2 more. 1, 2. You just don't want to loosen one all the way out and then go back and do the other. You kind of want to do it 1, 2. Actually, I can feel that's pretty, yeah, so I could actually take the string right off at this point and work on the bow. I can also pop out the peep sight right there and then turn it around to face the other way. Okay, so now I've got the peep sight facing the same direction as the D-loop. And it's just a matter of tightening it back up 2 rotations at a time. All right, I'm doing the editing, and I don't know that I made that clear. let me just clarify for your sake in case you're ever doing this. So if you loosen that first limb 2 turns, it is now 2 full turns looser than the other limb. So if I loosen the other limb 2 turns, they're now even. Now if I loosen that 2 more, now it's 2 full turns looser than this one. So then I go back and I loosen it 2 turns, now they're equal again. I loosen it 2 more, now it's 2 looser. So in a sense, you're really only 2 turns ahead in either direction, but in order to put this one that's 2 turns behind, to make it 2 turns ahead, you're actually cranking it 4 times. So in the wording there, I don't think I was super clear, and I just wanted to clarify that for you. Now let me get back to the video as I had previously recorded it. If you needed to replace the limbs, that's another common question. You would take these all the way out and just maybe 1 or 2 more turns, and the limbs will actually come off. I don't like to take the limb pocket off completely. I get it to where I could take the limbs and the string and the cables off, and then there is a little C-clamp on either side here on the end of the axle. You'll pop out one C-clamp, pop that end off. This will come off on the end, and then you could push in and slide the axle out. One thing I recommend doing if you have to do that is take lots of pictures so you can see where the spacers are. Take note of which side of the bow, like as you look at it. So here's where your arrow rest is. On the side where the arrow rests, you have a lot more spacer in this side than you do in this side. So when you're reassembling, you want to make sure your spacers are in the right location. You slide the axle out, the limb will come right off at that point. You put your other limbs in place, slide the axle back through, and make sure you have your spacers in the right way as you're sliding through, then your cam. And also make sure your cam's facing the correct direction. Right here, my draw module is on this side of the bow. So I want the draw mod on that, facing that side when I'm sliding this back through. And then it's a matter of putting your C-clamp back on. I usually use a needle nose pair of pliers and just pop it on that way. And then it's a matter of tightening back up. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Now if you lose track of did I put the same amount of turns in each limb bolt, you can measure the tiller. Like I'll hook a tape measure right on the end and I'll pull it across and measure to the string, and you'll want that to be the same on both sides. I can also see the threads here. There's more threads here, so that means I haven't done my rotations on this one yet. But if if it starts to get difficult to turn the limb bolt, that's why I like this. It gives you just more leverage. 1, 2. 1, 2. Looks pretty good. And as you can see, the peep sight is facing the correct direction. Now be careful, a lot of people who buy these are new at archery. They take it out of the box, they pull it and let the string go. You never ever want to shoot a bow without an arrow on there. They're designed to have force against the string during the shot from the arrow. If you pull any compound bow back and shoot it, that's called dry firing, and very often the strings will come off of the cam. If that happens, I have a video on how to do that. You just put the string back on, you just loosen limb bolts and to reinstall it. But sometimes if your poundage is up real high, you could even break components of the bow. So make sure that if you want to test this out, grab an arrow. I'm looking around. There's an arrow right here. Now I have a target right there. You always want to point your arrow at a target if you're going to draw the bow back. But I could see my draw stops hit right at the same time. Everything's firm. So I know that I have everything kind of back together in the right way, and my peep sight is now facing the correct direction. And again, if you need to make an adjustment for the peep, you loosen the limb bolts like I said, you can take the string off, go one way or the other a half turn, and it should straighten it right out. I hope this video helps and answers a lot of your common questions that come up with the Dragon X8 and the Dragon X8 Pro package. I will provide a link in the description section if you'd like to check out this bow and maybe even purchase one for yourself or for a loved one. They're a very economical way to go to get into archery, and I have a lot of viewers that have purchased them, and many of them have written to me and told me they harvested deer with them this year, or some it was their first deer ever, others it was their first time, with the Dragon X8 trying it out, and it worked out perfectly. It worked out great. So I know that it has a success record to it from the people who have written to me. That's my feedback. So I hope this video helps. Until next time, take care and God bless.